introduce yourself however you feel like presenting yourself this evening. There's many personas here on stage. Go ahead. Knock yourself out, Laura.
Well, hello, I'm Laura Galgano, also known as the Flaming G-Spot.
Andrea Cavanaugh, also known as Amy Smackhouse.
Nurse Cheryl.
I'm in my alter ego tonight. I'm in my regular garb as just regular Miller, but I'm usually Miller time.
I am Seville Knievel, misspelled egregiously throughout this film as Knievel, Knievel, Knievel.
That's what we were all concentrating on, right, folks? Yeah.
I'm Brian Weimer. I co-directed it, and I gotta fix all those later. I'm Billy Hunt, in charge of spelling.
My name is Sabrina Pratt. I'm also known as Armageddon. I'm also on the Claw USA board.
I'm Jude Silvera, and I'm the ref.
I'm Inherent Hollingworth, and I'm with New Orleans Ladies Arm Wrestling.
Hi, I'm Kara Dawson. I am the homewrecker and the crowd favorite from Super Claw.
I'm the fan of brutal honesty up here. Of those on the panel, who saw the movie before 5 minutes ago? Raise your hand. Oh, liar, hands on fire.
I didn't see this version.
Yeah. Who saw this version of this movie? Oh, no, not even the directors. So you get what you get, folks, right? Okay. So here's the rules of the evening. As typical of Claw, there aren't really any huge rules, but the two rules are, I'm going to ask boring questions, and if you want more interesting questions, you need to come up to this lovely lady who looks like Pam, but is not Pam. That's Pam, and this is Pam's alter ego, Janet. So if you want to ask a question, I'm going to ask lots of questions, and I hope to embarrass everyone on stage eventually. But Billy and Brian, first question for you. Did we emasculate you?
Okay, one time when I was complaining about working with you all to my father-in-law, Michael, and he said, well, you know their name is Claw, right? And I was like, yeah, that's totally true. No, I don't think you emasculated us.
Too bad.
Yeah.
It's not too late?
But it was complicated. I'll say that.
Are you on Facebook? Is that your relationship status? It's complicated?
Well, I just want to add to it that I grew up with a family of mostly guys. I had 3 brothers, a very dominant dad, and now I have 2 daughters, and I live in a female-dominated household, and I finally realized that I don't understand women. Which I think is step 1 in finally trying to understand women. And
We're so glad you made this documentary.
Right, but I think that through the process of this, it was really to understand a lot of what women want to be, what they want to express, things that they hide to themselves or to others, that once you put on something else, you're able to go and do that thing, and you have a place for it. And it tells me a lot that I have far more to learn.
So I'm going to give a little little time for you two. So what do you all want to say about your movie? What do you want to communicate about your movie? I'm not a film major. If you're a film major, come up and ask a question. But what do you want to say about your movie?
Us?
Yeah.
I am just so pleased to be here. Like, thank you all so much for coming. That's all I think. For you all for letting us into your lives and letting us film these terrible moments, and and you all for coming, and for the film festival for having us, and it's just been what a ride. This, lady arm wrestling has sort of made me the photographer and filmmaker that I am, and I just
Did you retire from photography? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. The business. There's no money in this, but the thing is fun. It's fun. We've had these crazy adventures. We've
gone to all these places, met these amazing people. Totally.
Rich, do you have something to add? Because you're cackling back there like you have something to say. No? Okay.
Dirty. I have a question.
Yeah.
So if someone was totally inspired by all that they saw on there and they see around their community, what would you suggest the first thing that they do?
I'm going to point this. No, Jude, it's not your turn. It's not Jude's turn. It's Sabrina's turn because she is our Claw USA something or other.
Yes, Andrea and I are on the Claw USA board, which you might be familiar. Jennifer began this movement with Jody, I know, birthed it together, and I'm very honored to be on the board and very humbled to be here where it began, and it's something that's touched my life. So the answer to your question would be, if you are inspired by your community, if you're inspired by what you saw up here, to follow your heart, follow the fun, figure out what you need to do. I can speak for this movement and what you just saw here. We have over 30 leagues, and I haven't even shared this with Jennifer. As of last weekend, Claw is now international. There was a brawl in the Netherlands actually last weekend. So
Red Sonja won.
yeah, Sonja. We couldn't understand a word of the article, but they had a great time. And in the years since it started, Claws across the country now, around the world, have raised over $300,000 for, yeah, it's amazing. It's awesome. For local charities focused on social justice issues. It's a beautiful thing. I ask myself a lot why I give so much of my time and energy to this. It's more than wearing costumes and being crazy running around. It's about making a change in your community and doing it in a strong, powerful, thoughtful, inspiring way. So I'm honored to be a part of it.
So there's a couple themes that I'm involved in Claw, in case you guys didn't notice, but there's a couple themes that really stick out to me about this, and there's a few things I'd like to ask the panel to weigh in on. One is people of color in Claw. It's a pretty white movement. How do we go about making that not be so damn white? Also, queers, LGBT, and then also body image. I think those are, for me as a woman, are really pressing issues, and I would like anybody who would like to weigh in on any of those things to raise their hand. There you go.
I think it's really tricky as an entire panel of white people to talk about how we can include people of color. If you identify as a person of color in this crowd and you would like to get involved, please do. Come and talk to us. We are more than happy to answer your questions, but I think that as a bunch of white people, it's probably not our topic to talk about. I, however, am open to talking to people who are into it, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
I guess I'll take on the LGBTQ. Did I get all this right? I think. I feel like we've been a very safe and welcoming space for all orientations, and the one thing that I think is problematic for us is that we've had this rule that you have to identify as a woman to wrestle, and I think. For example, there was a woman in Austin who won, who then transitioned and can't participate in the same way that she did, and I feel very conflicted about that. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that we're kind of at this interesting crossroads to talk about it, and maybe we need to change the way that we think about these rules that we've set. It was useful to begin with as like a major way of saying who could take part in this, but it's becoming more of a problem.
So in New Orleans, we have spent, we take yearly retreats as a collective, and we spend 2.5 days talking about all of these issues that come up within the social justice movement that is happening around NOLA. And one of the things that we have talked about is people who identify as transgendered, and so who go through the transition. And so the language that we use around it, which I think is really helpful, is, and I think you said this, women identified, and so that is a self-proclaimed, I am a woman and I was either born in the wrong body and so therefore I'm transitioning, or post arm wrestling have realized that I was born in the wrong body and so I'm transitioning into male. And so kind of giving up that privilege of being able to arm wrestle because they have now found and realized that they are in the wrong body.
We have an audience question.
Yes, I know some of these folks, and I'm friends with them. And
Speak into the mic, please.
And have supported the organization in the past, and I really love what you guys are doing. And I wanted to ask specifically one thing that this brings up, which was really interesting, is in watching the film. I've only been to 3 Claw events in the past, but in watching the film, it's extremely inspiring to see what goes on and through the culture and over the period of time that you guys have been doing this. But the question about who's included and who's not, and without in any way, shape, or form trying to insinuate anything that would take away from the woman's movement of it, but is this kind of amazing part of seeing, I noticed that the only male participants being the refs. And I was just thinking, gosh, wow, wouldn't it be so cool if there was something that's equally or some way for men to participate without dominating or to any way, shape, or form taking over or taking away from the issue of the women's movement component of it, and actually only furthering to broaden that across sexes. And I was wondering if there's any effort to do that, because I bet there are a lot of men that would in some way love, whether or not through wrestling, but in some way be more involved in the actual performance and theatrics and administrative component of it as a whole.
I'd love to take that question just because as one of the sort of organizers locally, I have seen lots of men get very involved in it, and there are actual ways for tons of men to become involved in both behind the scenes parts of it, in the setting up, in the gathering sponsors, getting people funding. There's so many wonderful ways. The entourage members.
The entourages, yeah.
We do our best. Yes, we are very specific in the actual wrestlers being identifying female. However, we are very much open and welcoming to anyone participating in whatever way they want to be involved, male or female, or any other area in the spectrum.
I've never wrestled without at least one man in my entourage, if not mostly men in my entourage.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to say, is that what I love the best about Claw, well actually I love everything about Claw, but just because this is the question, I'll say this. But the fact that there are a lot of their women are up there wrestling, they're being strong, they're making a statement either theatrically or through their strength, and there are men behind them as their entourage raising the money and actually bringing home the money for the different charities. And that part I love, that you have the woman in the starring role and the men in the supporting role, and I think it's a really awesome thing.
Grab the mic from Billy to be like, and Herod, I also second that. Thank you for pointing that out. It's actually in the Claw USA guidelines, self-identified women. What I'm hearing from the audience's last 2 questions is, how can I get involved right now? We're all jazzed, this is awesome. I encourage you to go check out the clawusa.org website, get involved locally, see the leagues that are going on around the country, post it on your Facebook, be like, hey guys, this is what's up. So your friend in California can say, that's awesome, we need this for this here. I encourage you to jump onto the website. We're also raising money right now. We're planning Super Claw 2. Woo! Yes, we hope to have it in DC in the spring. So we're crowdfunding all of this money. Please, I'm embarrassed. I'm up here asking you all for money and for thoughts and for sharing this. I'm just doing that, and then I'm not going to talk on the mic anymore. But you can go check it out on our website, check it out on Indiegogo. So I think someone's telling me to put the mic down. We are raising money right now. We would like this to continue because it's amazing and it's doing a wonderful thing for communities everywhere.
Also, if you're interested and you don't have one in your own city, start one. You need 8 wrestlers and you need a venue and you need a charity to give your money to. That's all you need.
One thing I want to add to the whole guy angle thing was, early on in this process, when we were both filming it, we decided, well, we can you know, he was doing some photography, I was doing some smaller pieces, and then, well, why don't we do something bigger? But there was a discussion, can two guys actually do justice to a film about a women's empowerment movement? And I have to say, much to your credit, I mean, you can't make a documentary without access. And from New Orleans to Austin to upstate New York, all over the place we were really welcomed. People found couches and beds and stuff like that for us to crash on, and we couldn't have made it without sort of the trust, essentially, that was given to us. And I hope that we did you justice.
I just want to add to that because I was one of the ones that was really conflicted because these guys were the most passionate. They had been there from the beginning, both of them actually. They were from pretty much the beginning, capturing it, and yet I was like, here's our one chance to tell our story. We're letting two men do that? And then after wrestling with that, for a while, what's sort of started rising to the surface is they're supporting the work, they're passionate, and we ultimately want to get to a world where this doesn't fucking matter. So let's just embrace that. Let's go with what is here and what is happening and not be too rigid. So that's why we went with that.
One thing I'll add to that is, probably one of the questions that will come up is, well, what happens with this film next? And we're going to take it on a spring tour to as many of the sister cities as will have us to help show this, and to other places, and hopefully do our own bit to expose people to what this film is. And there's a small plug here because an audience award here at this festival will get us into a lot of other festivals. So that little ticket you have, tear that little, like, whatever number is the best one there. Thank you.
We have another audience question, Ken. So, I'm sorry to cut you off. You guys got pieces of paper when you came in the auditorium? Make sure to get one and fill it out and write CLAW. It's spelled C-L-A-W.
It says it on the top.
Yeah, well, they may not be able to read, so I'm going to spell it C-L-A-W. Please write that down so that Billy and Brian could, and I'm going to go on that road show too, whether they want me or not. So please write it down.
No hanging chads.
Yeah. Don't write C-L-A-E. That's not how you spell CLAW. Go ahead.
I had more of a comment than a question. It's just that I grew up as a very athletic, competitive girl, and everything that seemed artistic was pansy to me, and I didn't want to engage in it at all. And seeing this, which is competitive and slightly aggressive and still very feminine and woman, and like I can show my ass and it looks good, makes me feel very empowered. And I know a couple of y'all up there, and I'm so happy that y'all are pushing forward on this, and I have the utmost respect for it, and I'm so happy that y'all are up there doing that. Thank you very much.
If I could speak to that for a second, I'm an extremely competitive person. Second place is first loser. So, but
you're the first loser in my heart, Kara.
Thank you, Dankeschön. So, to come up here, to come and compete, and they are competitors. Like, you know, we're ladies, we're women, we're girls, whatever. But we're athletes, we're competitors, and that's how I've always seen it. I don't care about what pageantry you have. I mean, that just adds to the competitiveness.
You're wearing a tiara. Note to you. Note to you, you're wearing a tiara.
I look amazing in tiaras with knowledge.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying there's a little bit of pageantry going on there.
To compete and like fight, and really you're battling, and to finish and to still hug them and talk to, to hang out with them and just be really good friends with everybody no matter what happens. It's not supposed to happen, but it happens, and it happens every match all over the country. But women need to really get in touch with their competitive side. Don't let anybody tell you it's not ladylike to beat somebody. It is the most ladylike thing in the world.
Question, because this is one of the things I'm curious about. So you all may not know this in the audience, but there's many different ways. There's no rule book for how a league is. And some of the leagues are very theatrical, and some of them are very sporty and very competitive. And Charlottesville has had its own battle throughout its time about which way it's going to go. And I'm curious, particularly from the people from out of town, because I already know what we here in town think, but how do you do an interleague championship when different clubs are very different? For instance, No Law loves to dance their asses off. Whereas DC, that's just not going to happen because y'all are DC. And so how do you, and also I think it has to do with the storytelling that you tell, because you're presenting this collective of lady arm wrestling. That's kind of BS, right? There's no collective of lady arm wrestling. We all are very different. So anybody on the panel want to talk about how you merge all these very different women? The way I described it after Super Claw 1 was that you had every flavor of feminist coming together and trying to merge their visions into it. So anybody have a comment?
Yeah, I can start. So, yeah, it was really difficult because, like you say, DC is a very competitive league, but we also have a lot of other competitive leagues out there that are all about, like, we just want to come up there and we want to arm wrestle and kick your ass. And then we also have competitive in the terms of that they want to raise the most money. Our league in Durham, North Carolina is amazing. I think their last league, they raised over $10,000, you know, so they're competitive in that right. And then we have the theatrical leagues like Chicago and Charlottesville, I think, take the cake for sure in theatricality, and you guys are amazing there. So when we first were trying to plan Superclaw, it was really tough because we all came together, all these different leagues, and thought like, well, no, we're here to arm wrestle, and you know, Charlottesville saying, no, we're here for the theater.
We broke arms here, so you know, we don't want to break any more arms.
Exactly. Well, you know, we hadn't had any arm breaks in DC, so we weren't too concerned about that. But so it was tough. We really had to figure it out and like just try to struggle with what's the best way to provide some balance here in terms of the movement on the whole, and how do we honor what everyone has come together in a grassroots way and created in their own hometowns, and make sure that we honor it on the national level. And you know, we had the Wheel of Fortune. Some of us hate it, but you know, it was an answer for some of those things. I don't know.
I think I wasn't part of the organizing for the Super Claw, but what I did see out of it was that it was a group of people, a group of women from multiple different cities who came together and had a conversation about what the event should look like. Rather than just coming together and go, let's do this, it was like, let's have intentional conversation about how we're different, how we're the same, and let's find points that we can agree on, and let's go from there. And that's what created this wonderful event that really highlighted the athleticism for some groups, the performance for other groups, the booty shaking for other groups, like the partying for other groups. You know, it like really brought together the strong points from each sister city. And so it all happened through having conversation with each other, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, we have to work it out. Billy he raised his hand and then I ignored him. So.
Well, for me, I think it's interesting. I mean, you all are a collective of lady arm wrestlers. I mean, I think the collective part is really important, and you're always continuously hashing and rehashing things. No, but that like that sort of collective, you know, style of I don't want to say governance, but governance. You know, there's a lot of talking in that, and it takes a while to get to stuff, but I do think that there's a strength in that, and everyone's not going to be exactly satisfied with how things play, because people are coming at this with all kinds of different, you know, for different reasons and with different things, and that to me is, I think the tension in the film and a lot of the interest in the film is just sort of how do you work all that out. Jen, early on, Butch said we should film the meetings, and I was like, boring, you know, and I was just like, that's not a good idea at all. But she was totally right, you know, like, because I think the collective thing.
Noted, Jennifer was right. Billy said that. Whoever has the recording, please write it down. Billy Hunt said Jennifer Tidwell was right. Noted. Go ahead. Continue.
It's true, you know. Yeah, actually, I mean, we had long discussions about that, as my recollection, you know, and it's been fun to be in that process, you know, as an observer, and you know, and kind of pulling some of that process into our filmmaking as well.
everything is an experiment in every event, everywhere. That's another thing, is that we knew that Superclaw, no matter how much we tried to think through all those issues,
This was an experiment, this panel, by the way.
because some of those people were chosen as the strongest of their leagues, some were not, some were randomly chosen, some, I mean...
Biggest fundraiser,
it wasn't like a sporting thing where everybody came to Charlottesville going through the same hoops. It was really an unknown, and we learned a lot. We did a lot of things right, but there are a lot of things that are big questions, and I look forward to seeing how they get dealt with differently in Superclaw 2.
Well, I'd like just to add.
I'm going to say...
No.
So I'm going to say the red light is flashing, so we're nearing the end. So if you have a question from the audience, really this is your last chance to ask a question. And then, yeah, that's the light, the red triangle. That's like, I don't know if you went to preschool or anything, but red flashing lights mean bad. So go ahead, Brian.
I just wanted to add to that because we weren't sure what this event really was, it was kind of hard to figure out what kind of a doc it was going to be. I mean, it was like, is this a sports doc? Is this a sport?
Is this a wildlife documentary?
but
raise your hand if you think this is a sport. Audience too. Is this a sport?
I swear at the end, it's sport.
Is it a play? Is it a performance?
Yes.
Is it charity?
Yes.
Is it women's empowerment? Is it interesting? Wow, there's some people who aren't raising your hand. Are you dead or are you really that bored? Because other people are leaving. You can leave if you're that bored. Go ahead, Billy.
I just wanted to cap that with, that was the nice thing about filming it, was we didn't know how it was going to end up. I mean, during Superclaw, we had everybody mic'd because we didn't know what they were going to say, how it was going to turn out.
Thank God you had me mic'd.
Actually, we have some stuff,
I was not
crazy stuff.
Because I'm about to get fired for my job. Kayla, did you come tonight?
Everybody
Thank you.
But we just didn't know how it was going to end. No, but we just didn't know how it was going to end. And to have the ending that it did, to me, was another revelation of, like, guys wouldn't do that. You know? They're not going to, oh, we'll share the title! You're great, too!
But you did! You shared directing! You shared this process that could have gotten really...
Well, we're not guys.
Who won the arm wrestling contest with the diner?
Alright, but I guess we gotta probably close
I think
this out.
that's the end.
But I'd like to invite actually everybody here. We're going to the after party. And many of these lovely people up here are going to be there dancing and eating and drinking. And if you want to carry on the conversation there, come on up.
Where's that accent coming from?
Oh, it's at the Main Street Arena, which is the ice rink, which is the end of the mall. If you want to get any swag that we can help to put toward our travel bills in the future, we'll be selling DVDs and shirts.
Yeah, before everybody leaves, I do want to do a couple plugs. One is for Superclaw, which is please investigate. Please, if you want to start a league, if you're not from Charlottesville. If you want to wrestle or volunteer in Charlottesville. If you want to support Billy and Brian in their road tour, or please do that. There's lots. Claw, this foolishness up on stage is really important to all of us on stage, and we would sincerely like you to be involved. So please figure out a way that you can be involved by giving us money, by coming and putting on face makeup or whatever. But we appreciate, and I also want to say a thank you to Billy and Brian for the fact that they spent 5 years